Hello. I just want to say a few things around Clonmel. In terms of the site where the iPass modular homes are supposed to be going, that's quiet today anyway. But what's becoming more noticeable for the people around the town, even people that weren't involved in having the conversations around this in any kind of public forum or whatever, is they're starting to notice groups of these men, gangs of these men hanging around. Okay? A few weeks back it was predominantly in the night time that you'd see them floating around in big numbers, like groups of 8 to 10, like numbers of them, okay? But now you're starting to see them early in the mornings, hanging around, just standing in big numbers, okay? So people are noticing. You see a couple of videos floating around there. One of these men stuck his head in his window into his home, and your man went out and obviously subdued him or whatever and gave him fair warning to get out of the area. Okay, so what people have been saying to you or saying out about what is coming, it's now here. Okay, it's now here, regardless of the refurbishment of old buildings or the building on public land to house these people. That's only one part of the issue. Like, the other issue is that these people are already here. They're already walking around the towns. They're hanging around. They've nothing to do. They are predominantly gangs of men. There's no women being spoken of being seen in these large gangs. And the numbers are only going to be increasing. And not only that, but these people are being offered the ability to vote in the local elections, you know. So every one of those people who we've no idea who came here, some of them are coming with ripped up passports, no forms of identification. One fella in jail got his fingerprints taken, and they lit up for the same fingerprints as identified with 20-something other identities across Europe. What sort of stuff is this? Like, so these are the people that are already here in Ireland, and these people have been given the ability to vote in the elections. So never mind anything to do with not knowing who they are really, or not being given fair courtesy of being spoken to before these people arrive. These people are now have the ability to cancel out an Irish person's vote in their own country. That's lunacy. That's lunacy. Never mind the legality of it. Just on its face. It's like me going into your house tomorrow. You know nothing about me, and you probably know more about me than you do about the people coming in here. But me going into your home tomorrow, getting to cancel out your say in your home, nobody would accept that. You would not accept that in your own home. You would not expect that any of your friends to accept that in their own home. And more than likely, you would not be willing to try and do that in somebody else's home. But the weird thing with Ireland is, when you scale it up past the personal, all into the abstract of state offices and positions of authority, okay, and professions that seem to innately command an obedience and a respect to them. I don't know if you can have both of them together, to be honest with you. But people seem to lose sight of the principle. So you wouldn't leave someone else come in and dictate in your home to you, but you'll allow it happen on a national scale, provided it's not happening in your home. So you'll welcome in the problem that will eventually reach your home, because at one stage or another the problem wasn't affecting your home. But you fail to see, I don't know whether it's out of fear or out of just pure pig ignorance, or a devotion to a cult, or a devotion to a cult that you're pouring religious reverence over, which is the government, state-sponsored titles and roles. Do you know? We seem to believe that because someone is employed by the government, that they're over and above us, and the usual rules of common sense, common interaction and law just don't seem to apply to them people. Or if they do, we certainly won't hold them to it. Do you know? That's slave thinking. Slave thinking. That you wouldn't accept, like, your peer, someone who's in the same kind of social circle or scale, or whatever you want, or whatever way you want to look at it, someone you see as maybe a peer and equal, or a little bit below you, you wouldn't allow them coming and dictate in your home But people that you see, for whatever reason, as a little bit above you or way above you, you offer them different rules. You allow them play by different rules and laws. You know, you would allow them trespass your home more easily than anybody else. That's not okay. Like, that leads to terrible, terrible outcomes. Because people get bolder when they see such stupid invitations like that. You know? And people, sneaky people, devious people, criminal-minded people, people that want to override your sense of self-determination and your ability to own and protect your things. Those people take advantage of that. So that needs to stop. Okay? And it might come from a good place, but it doesn't lead to good outcomes when it's just used universally and applied universally in all cases to people that you see as above you socially or in a position of power that's way above the power you feel in your own self-identity. That needs to go away. Like, that needs to stop, because it's hurting not just you. You may see it as not hurting you right now, but it will in the future, and it's also hurting other people right now. Just because you don't see it, it doesn't mean it's okay. You know, so that's the Clonmel thing. These people are already in the town. They're in old buildings. They're just hanging around the streets now. You know, powder keg. Like the fuse has been lit. Like, you know. So, and it's a sad thing that, like, there's no good outcome out of this. You know, in the short and medium term future, at least. Like, there's no good outcome to this. This is crazy danger, and people are refusing to see it because they're terrified. You know, and they're also terrified because they might have to accept some responsibility as to why we're in this mess. Because of that stupid way of thinking, of looking at yourself as less than other people. That's what it boils down to with a lot of Irish people. They never admit that out loud, but your actions tell us that. You know, your blind obedience and your excusing of other people's behaviour when you would not excuse that from your family member or neighbour, or even yourself, or maybe you do. You know, another conversation. How deceptive are you? How sneaky are you? You know, to yourself and with others. Because other people pay the consequences and pay the prices for that, when they're probably better people in terms of being honest with what the reality is. Okay, so stop that, or even ask yourself some serious questions around that. Am I sneaky like that? Do I, in my own mind, have a two-tier set of justice and laws and rules and expectations that I apply to different people depending on how I see them? Okay, we need to have real adult conversations with ourselves around those kinds of things. And the other point I wanted to make is with the Simon Harris thing. It's kind of similar or related to the previous point, but to see so many people like excuse, it's not just him either. There's other politicians that have been seen to do that. Just a demonstration of a lack of respect for the people that are trying to talk to them. Like, people, members of the public, ordinary people, whose very work and life and effort in this world pays for these people's jobs. These people are hired as public servants. They're there to serve you and to make sure that the vision you have of society is manifested through the office that they have. It's not a permanent office. There's nothing special about them that grants them immunity from social criticism or from being confronted socially. Okay? Same way everyone else gets that. You know? If someone is coming down robbing the flowers out of your garden and then you see him walking past your house someday, you've every right to go out and confront them. What are you doing? You can't steal my stuff. So stop it. It stops now, right? Because I know it's you. End of. And then hopefully that's the end of the matter. Okay? But you can absolutely go out and confront people, adult to adult, human being to human being. And if someone is making a total disaster and destroying the very fabric of the life and the web socially that you've grown up in and been familiar with and felt comfortable in, absolutely you have a right to go out and confront them over that. Especially when you're paying their bills. A lot of these people haven't worked in decades. You're paying their bills. But with Irish people, it's like, that doesn't even register with us. We see it as they are in that position because they must be better than we are as human beings. These people are not. Because at the other side of their breath, they'll talk about people that are on the dole, that offer nothing to society. You know? Junkies, drug addicts, it gets all washed down the toilet by some people. While the very same behaviour of sponging off society and stealing a living from them, while they're plundering everything else from them and making their hometowns, their homes even in some cases, totally dangerous now. Those people get a pass because of the title that they have in society. That needs to go. That really, really needs to go. at least the junkie and the heroin addict or whatever you want to debase and dehumanize on this side, they're not stealing much from you in comparison to the people that are in positions of power, authority and influence, where the ability for the crime is much larger. You know, the theft is going to be much weightier in terms of what can be taken from you, and you don't even see it. You pretend it's legitimate. Another one is criticising anything in the state. People go, well, sure, look, we don't know how lucky we have it in Ireland. We could be over in X country, Y, Z, and whatever. What's that got to do with it? Like, I'm not comparing countries here. Ireland, by the standards of what Ireland should be, based on what Irish people generally would have of what Ireland should be, is abysmal. It's abysmal. People are suffering, they're dying needlessly, they're killing themselves, they're slowly committing suicide over decades of abuse, whether it's from prescription tablets or heroin on the street corner. Do you know? People are living the lives of slaves. People are being prostituted for this stuff. Do you know? People are living horrible, horrible lives in Ireland. We're suffering immensely. Do you know? So to just say, well, you don't know how lucky we have it, that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. In the current system now, or the situation that we're in Ireland, point to me a silver lining in this, because it's not, and I will point to you your absolute denial of reality. Do you know? Or your low expectations. And I think this is the crux of what I'd like to highlight, is the low expectations that Irish people have. Okay? We have very, very, very high standards of what our neighbours should and shouldn't be doing. Or the people that are of the same circles as should and shouldn't be doing. But our expectations of how we should be treated by people in positions of power is so low that it is infuriating to watch. It's incredibly troubling to watch so many people have minds like that, where they expect to be beaten, spit on, ignored, and have their things stolen from them, because what else are you calling it? What else are you calling it? Do you know? And the point with the Simon Harris thing as well is, you see in that video, not only is he trying to ignore the people that are talking to him, members of the public that are paying his way in life. He's only, what does he have, a leaving cert? Do you know? Like, our expectations, this boy has just a leaving cert, and he thinks he's a godman in this country, to the point where he can walk past and not even answer a question of someone that is so upset about this that they're shouting and they're demanding an answer. Any legitimate adult would stand and go, what is the fuss with this person? I must hear them out because I'm here to serve them. That's your job. That's not a leader doesn't go around ignoring the people who make his life possible. That's craziness. That is craziness. That is so anti-Irish that anyone with a lick of sense in terms of our history, in terms of our mythology, in terms of how we viewed ourselves as moral and spiritual and psychological agents in history, would look at that and go, that is unnatural to the Irish people, to go around and just demand. We've whole mythologies that are written about this type of being that just takes and takes and takes, you know, and speaks maybe somewhat eloquently and just lies to people and pulls them along by the ear, you know. We've whole stories of these kinds of people, and we're so disconnected from that, we don't see it anymore. And even worse than that, we've been so gutted courageously and eviscerated, that the heart in us is barely beaten to the point where we accept all kinds of horrors from people just because of the position that they happen to be in government. At a time when, in order to be in these positions, it looks very much like you need to be as cold and as unaffected by human suffering as possible in order to be able to do whatever job you've been given effectively. Because what you're seeing around as the result of these people's actions and the decisions they're making is chaos. Chaos. Do you know? And I'm sick and tired of listening to it. Thankfully, it looks like it's shifting. But looking at Irish people as these weak and beaten down people who just expect to be walked all over, and so they accept it by worse people than they are. They're being governed by their lessers, and as soon as people start realising that and start demanding from themselves I'm not accepting this anymore. I want better from my life, from this world, from this country, and for my children. Nothing's going to change. And I leave it on this then. It's so concentrated and it's so prevalent, the lack of self-respect most Irish people have, that we look at that the politicians understand that, and they walk past us and they ignore you like you're not even worth looking at. You're not worth an answer. You don't deserve my attention. I'm going to wave. I won't even wave my hand at you. I'll just walk past you like you don't even exist. I'll walk through you. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. And you can see this. So, have you ever been ignored in your life? When you're trying to get someone's attention and they're not responding. If you haven't, I would suggest giving it a go. Even pretend with someone. Because do it with a child even. We all know what happens when a child isn't given attention. What do? They get angry. They start breaking things. They'll start banging things and making noise to draw the attention. That's what you're seeing here. You're seeing people lose faith in the ability to communicate effectively with the people that are there to serve them. That they're getting angry and they're getting hostile and they're getting volatile and they're getting aggressive. And that is perfectly understandable. This is not the excuse or to condone any subsequent chaos that might follow this sort of attitude, but it's brewing. This sort of attitude led to a civil war before, when you have both sides shouting over each other and no resolution being sought or found. Okay, you've brothers butchering brothers and killing each other. Do you know? This is resurfacing again, and we need to get the grips of it, and we need to sort this out. Because there's serious resentment, and I think it's being stoked by that attitude of being totally dismissive to people. Whether it's intentional or not, how can it not be if you're choosing to walk straight past someone? But it's going to have an effect, and that effect is increased levels of hostility in this country from the Irish people. At a time when you're being told, you can't say that nasty now. Not only is the level of animosity and hostility being stoked, but we've also put a cap on it to say that any kind of verbal venting of that would be inciting hatred, and you'll go to jail for that. You'll be punished for having a perfectly natural response to the total tyranny that's going on around you. And until we start to develop it, push up that self-esteem and demand from ourselves a bit of self-respect and act in a way that pleases ourselves to the point where we begin to respect ourselves and feel strong in ourselves and feel worthy of ourselves, this is going to continue, and it's going to get much, much worse. This is a perfectly logical prediction based on what's going on and the trend if it continues now. It's not saying I'm going to do this or that, so-and-so is going to do that. Blah, blah, blah. Caveat out of the way. Get better. We need to switch on, and we need to remember that we're a great people and we need to get strong again.